Well, he is the notorious drug lord from Mexico, and now there is new evidence that El Chapo tortured and killed 7 Americans. So why is he getting away with murder? Jason Whiteley explains in tonight's WFAA Original.
Headlines hardly capture the horror of what happened 33 years ago. Americans savagely murdered. But for their families, justice has never come.
And I remember John telling me when he was in Vietnam that if you smell, the smell of a dead human being never leaves you once you smelled it.
This grave belonged to John, a retired Marine with 2 Purple Hearts, Eve Walker's husband.
I didn't have a dad after I was 10.
And Keely Muse's father.
People always say I look like him.
John was a journalist, moved his family to Guadalajara, Mexico to write a crime novel, never expecting in 1985 that he and a buddy named Alberto Radelat from Fort Worth would get wrapped up in a murder mystery themselves.
The pair unknowingly entered this Guadalajara restaurant on January 30th.
Partying there that night were 3 of Mexico's most powerful drug traffickers and a group of their hitmen who abducted the 2 Americans.
They stabbed them with ice picks, and then in the course of all this, someone hit John in the head with the butt of a rifle, and it fractured his skull.
We drove 4 hours north of Las Vegas to Ely, Nevada, where closure never came for Pat Romero.
My mom has nightmares every night because of this. She dreams about them being tortured.
Her brother, Benjamin Mascarenas, his wife, Pat, along with Dennis and Rose Carlson, are 4 more Americans who also disappeared in Guadalajara just weeks earlier. They were Jehovah's Witnesses in Mexico on a missionary trip. What's your understanding of what happened?
They were innocent people spreading the Lord's name. That's all they were, innocent.
Knocked on the wrong door.
Knocked on the wrong door and were murdered for that. Tortured and murdered.
Then a DEA agent named Enrique Kiki Camarena was also kidnapped, tortured, and killed. It was drug traffickers murdering these Americans. They wanted revenge after law enforcement, pressured by the DEA, torched 10,000 tons of marijuana in Mexico. It was $5 billion worth. Those drug lords mistook Walker, Radelat from Fort Worth, and Mascarenas and the missionaries as undercover DEA agents who might have been responsible. U.S. prosecutors convicted several people for killing Agent Camarena, but here's why the other 6 families remain so upset. The U.S. government has never gone after any major drug trafficker for killing their loved ones.
We were robbed of their lives. My mom is gonna die with a broken heart.
For the first time, eyewitnesses are coming forward with a new name, Joaquín Guzmán, better known as El Chapo, one of the world's richest and most brutal drug lords. Mexico extradited him here to the U.S. only if he would not face the death penalty. But sources tell us El Chapo had a hand in the deaths of each of these Americans. We found some of the strongest evidence against El Chapo in California. There are 3 former Mexican police officers living here now who say they witnessed El Chapo torture and kill those Americans. And one of the former cops, still in witness protection, agreed to share what he saw. Your superiors ordered you to work for these drug lords.
Yes.
What happens if you said no?
They want to kill me.
Despite witness protection, Jorge Godoy let us show his face and use his name, insisting he was not a corrupt cop in Mexico. Do you fear for your life right now?
Sure, amigo.
Godoy was guarding that restaurant when Walker and Radelat showed up.
Yes, I was in the door.
You told him to leave.
And I tell him, no, quédate aquí, and you have to go, and go, and go, please, and get out.
But drug lords saw them, suspected they were DEA, and ordered them inside. When they get back inside, what happens?
They pass beside me. And I say, oh, my God.
What did you think was going to happen? You saw El Chapo kill Americans.
Yes, I saw.
Chapo Guzman was stabbing John Walker and Alberto Radelat?
Yes.
Did you see that?
They put in the face to the floor, boca abajo, and let him make it like that. And Javier Valera to John Walker.
And then he disposed of the bodies.
Yes.
This is before El Chapo headed the Sinaloa cartel, back when he was a rising cartel member in the mid-1980s.
What did El Chapo do to the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Hector Barreyes is a former DEA agent.
El Chapo basically, I understand, interrogated him. He tortured him by slapping him, kicking him, whatever. But El Chapo was the one that shot him. He was the one that actually pulled the trigger.
Barreyes helped lead the investigation into Agent Camarena's murder and says that witnesses told him El Chapo helped kidnap Camarena's Mexican pilot.
He tortured both of them. He was seen by two witnesses to slap, kick, spit in Camarena's face.
Barreyes and Godoy told us that federal prosecutors in Los Angeles are now finally considering charging El Chapo for the murder of Camarena and the other 6 Americans. Charges based on the eyewitness accounts of Godoy and 2 other Mexican state police officers now in witness protection.
Why would prosecutors just now be interested in trying to charge El Chapo with them?
Because I believe that now they are starting to see, they meaning the U.S. Attorney's Office of Federal Prosecutors, that Donald Trump is dead serious on taking these bad hombres on.
This is what he missed out on.
Bodies of Benjamin Mascarenas and the murdered missionaries have never been found.
Their lives mattered. They mattered.
John Walker finished that crime novel, and for the first time in decades, there is this new suspect in his own case.
I'd like to see him be convicted of murder and spend the rest of his life in prison. You know, that seems like justice to me.
Federal prosecutors suspect El Chapo may have killed hundreds of people, but they are only trying him on drug charges, infuriating families who fear he is getting away with murder. Jason Whiteley, Channel 8 News.
This is a saga that News 8 has covered for years. You can watch our earliest stories, which date back to 1985, at WFAA.com.